The following is a presentation of the Boltup Sports Media Network.
Here comes pressure, throws it to Eckler on the screen. He's got a block to the 10, to the 5, into the end zone.
High pass. Did Williams make that catch? My goodness.
For a first down, Herbert with time. Now running out of time. Throws on the run. Down the sideline. Caught in the end zone. Keenan Allen for the touchdown.
Throws, and again it's intercepted. And that's Asante Samuel.
Here's another one. Watch out.
How did it feel when Derwin James absolutely powerbombed the out of it on national television?
You're listening to the Shock Therapy Podcast with Tyler Lawrence and Zach Alfers.
And we're back. We're going to talk a little bit about the Raiders game. A little late, but we got ourselves a bye week. I think it was really important that we got that bye week, considering the massive number of injuries we had coming out of that game. Even going into that game, no Austin Eckler, a couple other guys who got banged up. Herbert's finger looked terrible. He had a massive cast on that thing.
He looked like we were there finger in that fourth quarter.
We were there. Talk a little bit about the atmosphere of SoFi Stadium. Really, it was kind of a Raiders home game for us. I think it might have been like 80-20 Raiders fans. That wasn't great, but the game in itself was phenomenal.
Yeah, SoFi is great as always. It's so much fun to go out there, see the few Charger fans that were there, and I thought for the most part, most Raider fans that I interacted with were cool, but it was a lot of them. It kind of did suck to see so much black, but I think the icing on the cake was 80% of that stadium left pretty disappointed with the chance to win and didn't quite get it done. It's one of those tough wins with a lot of guys off, not playing, not completely healthy. A game where a lot of Charger teams of the past would have figured out a way how to squander that one. So luckily, get out of there 2-2 into the bye, getting some healthy bodies coming back. It's always good to get your first division win out of the way, even though it's the Raiders. They always battle, and they made it way closer than it needed to be. But hey, a win's a win.
It feels like every week somebody's like having a record game for themselves. Week 1, the Chargers rushing for 240 yards or something like that. A couple weeks later, Keenan Allen goes back to looking like he's 23, 24 years old, goes off for over 200 yards, 18 catches. Justin Herbert finally throws for over 400 yards, first time in his career. And then Khalil Mack, the last game, 6 sacks, 9 total pressures. I mean, Aiden O'Connell did not have a great game, and it's not even all his fault because, Khalil Mack was in his face like a lot. And I feel like it's just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Who's the next big guy that's going to have a big game? Boltup looks like one of the best rookies so far this season. Every game it seems like somebody is popping off. Who's that next guy you're looking for to really see come through?
I think, there's 2 guys defensively. Well, first, the sack daddy performance. The 6th player in history to have that many games, just one shy of the record. Derek Thomas threw up 7 back in 1990. So a phenomenal game. Can't take that away from him. He was absolute terror, even for a rookie quarterback. That six sacks is nothing to, laugh about. I really want to see Joey.
I think I could laugh about it.
Well, not laugh about, but disregard. That's a big game, regardless of who you're going up against. Was my point. Moving forward, I would like to see a big game from Joey. I know he's been banged up here, but he's kind of like the next guy in that pass rotation game who hasn't really had a dominant showing. I know early on he had a couple sacks and out of 3 snaps, which was nice, but I want to see just a full game from him. I don't think we've seen a healthy Joey in a while. And then I'd like a classic Derwin James disruptor game. 3 pass breakups, a forced fumble, an interception, and a couple sacks. One of those just fill the box score type of games from him. And then my prediction offensively, I think it's about time we get QJ in the end zone. I think Darius Davis, how we've been utilizing him, has been really fun to see. Utilizing him in the jet sweeps, utilizing him as a running back. He had some really big runs this last game against the Raiders. So I'm excited to see Quentin Johnston. So my prediction offensively is we're going to see Quentin Johnston's first professional touchdown this week.
Yeah, I think it's needed right now. The offensive rookie who's been kind of shining has been Darius Davis. He's been getting targets. He's been getting design touches, right? Things that get his speed involved. And so far, I don't think anybody expected to see him playing.
No, he's been amazing.
And he's been really good as a 5'8", 170-pound
fast
scat back or whatever you want to call him. I mean, he's super fast, and they're getting design touches for him, and it adds a wrinkle to the offense that we haven't seen since. When was the last time we had a guy with speed like that could just really take the top off?
I think we wanted Travis Benjamin to be that guy, and he was just like, he wasn't as fast. Like, we tried to do it, and we were just not. We didn't have a good scheme. We didn't have a great offensive line or blocking, and then he was just a tad bit short. So I don't really think we have. I think like the last guy. I feel like
Eric Metcalf back in the 90s.
Yeah, or like even Darren Sproles when we had LT, when we were just trying to figure out ways how to get him in the ball. Kind of different because he was a running back, but I don't know. He's a unique talent, being his stature, his size, being a punt returner. So I kind of look at him more like Darren Sproles, who was that kind of utility guy. He was so good in special teams role, and as a backup guy, we just had to figure out ways to get him the ball. And with Quentin Johnston, we've been throwing him the ball his ways. He's had some potentially big plays he could have came up with, but he just didn't come down with the catch. So now he's getting targeted. He's getting some chances, and now it's his time to make some plays out of it.
Darius Davis, he had 2 targets, 2 receptions. So far this season, I feel like he's been coming down with every target he's got. He is, looking at it right now, 4 for 4 so far this season, and that's not including some of the design runs, some of the just the explosiveness that he brings to the offense. We talked about it. I want to say we talked about it on a Lost Pat podcast where Justin Herbert hasn't really had home run hitters, right? Like he's got a little bit of speed with Jalen Guyton. He had a little bit with the guy that we were super pissed about the Chargers cutting as soon as not making the 53-man roster. Just some of those explosive plays, but as a guy that can catch the ball and run and outrun defenses, like that's a major issue in why Justin Herbert, it took 4 seasons for Justin Herbert to go for over 400 yards. You're getting some of that element, Darius Davis. I think we're going to be getting Jalen Guyton back soon. I still haven't seen that he's practiced.
Yeah.
But having speed on the offense it just makes you so much more dynamic, and it allows you to hit some of those home runs. Most of our 50, 60, 70, 80-yard touchdowns have come from Austin Eckler. Having somebody else that can do that, because Keenan Allen wasn't that guy, right? Mike Williams gave you some of that but really inconsistently, right? Like having like a Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardman, some of those small guys who can catch the ball and outrun. That's something Darius Davis is bringing the offense that the Chargers haven't had, in my experience, as far as I can remember, like ever. Never had that.
No, it's fun to see. And I think Kellen Moore has been such a breath of fresh air for this offense, being creative, getting guys involved in unique and creative ways, moving Keenan Allen around. I think and then our red zone production has been so instrumentally so much better compared to last year and the couple of Lombardi seasons that we saw. So I'm really excited to continue to see his growth, him kind of design more plays and more touches and looks for Quentin Johnston. Also, I kind of want to just talk about Herbert's game. We're talking about career highs, but he had a career low as far as completions, attempts, yardage, only 167 yards. So a lot of that was, not having Mike Williams. I'll credit the Raiders defense. There was a lot of pressure. The DBs played solid coverage. I thought for the most part they made it tough, but I thought
only 2 sacks though.
Yeah, no, but they made it difficult for Herbert. What I
they
wanted
weren't
to
getting
say,
home.
no, well, and I think that the big part of that was an underrated part of Herbert's game was we saw his ability to get out of the pocket. That 12-yard rushing touchdown to open the game was awesome, just juking people out of their cleats. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game, but he made a lot of plays with his feet, which I think you got what the great guys do. Even on your worst days, passing the football, you got to figure out ways to help your team. And I thought Herbert did that. And you saw the toughness when he finished the game with a Gardner glove on his left hand.
And I mean, it's not like they weren't getting 25 total pressures and only 2 of those actually became sacks. Like, that's not bad. And if you take into account the fact that he was seeing all that pressure, I mean, the Chargers went away from the passing game this game. They ran the ball 37 times. 12 of those were carries by Justin Herbert, but 37 total rushing attempts, 155 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. They were, Justin Herbert had the 2 rushing touchdowns, so it's not like he wasn't involved in the game, right? He was able to keep drives alive regardless of how he was doing it. This time it happened to be a lot more with his legs. And, Joshua Kelly, like we still haven't seen Joshua Kelly be able to handle the workload of a true RB1. I think it's going to be a major factor in us probably not bringing him back next season, but we're getting Austin Eckler back, and that should really take some more of that pressure off of Justin Herbert passing the ball. We know that he can do it really efficiently. He had the 1 interception, still had 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's still like a major factor in the game. I want to see coming back out of this bye week, us being able to build. Hopefully that hand, I wonder what it's going to look like if we're going to be taking a lot of snaps from shotgun. I haven't had a chance to watch some of the press conferences yet. I know that he did say that he hadn't taken any snaps under center yesterday or today for the first 2 practices. Probably going to get him some snaps, tomorrow. See if he's able to do that. How does that feel? Is it going to be something where, he's going to bobble the ball? I mean, I don't know if he broke his finger. I know he tore his nail back, right?
Yeah, gross.
So kind of a gross, bad, injury, non-throwing hand though. So it shouldn't really affect much other than, how are they going to come out? I'm expecting a lot of shotgun this game.
Well, and I think first off, the dude's tough. Fingernail compared to a broken rib, and we saw what he could do with fractured rib cartilage. So, and it's his non-throwing hand. I think he's going to figure out a way. He's a competitor. He's going to figure out a way to be the resilient Herbert we know. What else? What were we talking about? I kind of got derailed.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the run defense because it's still not been great. So that's receiving yards. My bad. Let me go over to the rushing. So 3.3 yards per carry allowed, 76 total yards rushing, 23 attempts. They had the 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs had 1. Aiden O'Connell got 1 in there. But if you really think about it, I was expecting them to come pretty run heavy with a rookie quarterback coming in, first time he's ever played in his career. And they threw the ball quite a bit more than they probably needed to. This is a Chargers defense who historically has just not been very good against the run. And for whatever reason, Josh McDaniels just did not go that route at all, which is a little surprising to me. But the Chargers handled their business against the run with guys banged up. No Derwin James. Derwin James did not play this game. Joey Bosa didn't really play a whole lot. I mean, you're missing a lot of guys in defense. You have 2 safeties who are not playing, and then those backups were both guys sitting on the practice squad, and they held their own pretty well. I think that's a big plus for the Chargers is coming into a game where you're probably expecting to run the ball a lot more. They struggled running the ball, so they went and put the ball in Aiden O'Connell's hands, and Aiden O'Connell in the first half was terrible. In the second half, they started picking it up. They started getting some touches to Devontae Adams. But I was expecting a much heavier dose in the run game. The Chargers were stiff up front. They weren't allowing a lot of that to come their way. That's probably one of my biggest takeaways there is that.
No, it is interesting. I think part of that might be just how awful the Chargers secondary has been, I guess, and giving up so many passing yards, like 299.8 passing yards a game right now, the worst in the league. Worse than,
and they gave up 238 to a rookie quarterback who did not look very good at all.
No. Well, and 81 yards to Josh Jacobs off 8 receptions. It was just like, it was nothing big, which I think the longest completion was 25 yards, which I think is a good thing. The first couple of weeks we were leading the league in explosive passes allowed. So to see only one 25-yard completion, I think is nice. But still, it was just the dinks and dumps, some sloppy tackling at times, and the inconsistency. I thought we had one of our best first halves, and then didn't close. Kind of got outscored 10 points to nothing in that second half. Part of it, I think we could have scored it if the game script dictated it at the end. But overall, a tough game. Got to credit the guys who able to get it done when things weren't when things weren't really going their way.
Yeah. Closing remarks on this game. I feel like this really should have been. This was a much closer game than it should have been. Just it was. The Raiders are not good. They're really, really not in any sort of rhythm. They have issues with Devontae Adams, not really liking his situation there, not liking his utilization. The fact that they have those issues under center, the offensive line isn't playing really well. They've got one star player who's actually playing to that star level, and that's Max Crosby. I think they're going to continue to struggle the rest of the season, but us winning this game by just 7 points, that's not good enough. We really need to blow out bad teams. Good teams blow out bad teams. We haven't done it. We get one blowout a year against something fluky, 5 turnovers, and then in that game we end up losing that anyways, so it didn't really matter. But this is not a good team. Us winning 17-24, it's a W in the win column, but overall we're just not playing to the level we should have. Realistically speaking, we're not closing games. That's what it comes out to. Yeah, we won the game, but we didn't close the game. We just allowed time to run out. We need to really take over a game and just squeeze all the life out of the opposing team at the end of the game. That's how you win games. That's how good teams win. And we're just not a good team right now. And I think that this just kind of shows you. Aiden O'Connell passing for over 200 yards and Justin Herbert under. Like that, in no world whatsoever should Aiden O'Connell be passing for more yards or just have a better game in general than Justin Herbert. We're not on all cylinders. We got to get this thing fixed. That's my closing remarks on this game. It was a fun game to go to. Some guy in the parking lot tried to fight me. I wasn't having that. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm not dealing with that. But this guy, the Raiders fans are just the worst. Moving on. So I want to get your thoughts. The J.C. Jackson trade. This is something that happened last week. We haven't really had a chance to really talk about it yet. I think it makes sense why we did it.
Yeah.
It's really hard knowing that we paid the Patriots to take him off our hands. We literally took most of the salary cap, most of the money, a lot of dead money in this trade. We swapped late round picks, basically, is what we ended up doing for it. I want to say, the situation didn't work out. We got out of it in any which way we could. Better for the player, better for the team. But it was a steep price to get rid of J.C. Jackson. And I think it makes sense because I don't think we really had a place for him. Yeah. I think that he needs a fresh start elsewhere. I know he kind of badmouthed the team on the way out. I know there's some bad blood there. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a free agent signing I would have done again because I thought J.C. Jackson coming out of the Patriots was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. Sometimes these things just don't work out. And we shipped him out, and it cost us a lot. In future years, it's going to work out for us, but it really cost us a lot. Give me your thoughts on letting go. Yeah. Is it the right way that we did it? Was there a better option out there? I don't know. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah. more than anything, I'm frustrated about it because I think we all had high hopes, and just a really, really rocky start to his Charger career. Never really got going. And I think at the end of the day, I think it's a good move for both the team, the organization, the individual player. Because I think he did. We see it a lot with guys getting raised in this Belichick scheme, have great careers, go sign big free agent deals elsewhere, and then outside of that scheme, they're a fraction of themselves. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily what we're seeing with J.C. Jackson, but coming out of that injury, he is not that. I think a lot of it had to do with him not being completely honest with the team, with his medical staff. He said he was good to go. But, he really wasn't. He was getting burnt. His one big play he had for us, while he was here, was an interception that he made a boneheaded mistake and returned to the 2-yard, which we ended up punting and giving up a touchdown the following drive. So it's a rough one because you wanted the guy to work out, but I think in the long run, getting out of it when you can is what we needed to do. You're not going to continue to throw money at a guy who's not producing for you. And I think the biggest thing is the 5 guys that are remaining. They gel together. They understand the system. And I think we saw it, when I think it was week 3, Minnesota, when it was JC and Asante starting outside. Mike Davis was rotating in and got burnt really bad on a big play late in the game that was crucial. And they interviewed him after, and he's like, hey, it's a rhythm type of position. When you're going in and out, you don't really gain that rhythm. So the following week, JC got benched. I think the hope was he's going to get back into the film room. He's going to, go back to studying the books, and he's going to come out more motivated and get back in and be able to produce. And instead, he kind of took it personally, which I get, but it's a business. So he didn't take it the right way. The team felt like he wasn't going to respond. It was time to go. And they have the 5 guys between Dean Leonard, J.C. Jackson, or Asante Samuel, Mike Davis, Lohi Gilman, and Derwin James. They like that 5. So it's time to build around that 5. We're not nearly as deep without JC, but I think the best 5 for the team right now are playing. I wish J.C. Jackson worked out because I think this team would be better with it. He wasn't very good, and so it's time to move on. You get $7.5 million to probably roll over to next year to help with that cap situation. Otherwise, if we feel like we need an upgrade, we can make a run here at the trade deadline. It's not really in our nature, but I think it's the right move overall. Just frustrating that it had to happen that way.
I like the fact that it's something that we can just look at and move on, right? Like,
yeah,
all right, we're not just paying this guy to give us explosive plays, right? Like that's not what we're doing. We just made the decision. We made it in week 3 against the Vikings. We said, hey, J.C. Jackson's not working out for us. We're going to sit him. And I think they were shopping him is why they did it, right? They knew that they were going to move on. They were really looking. And when you're looking, the guy who asked for the trades always at a disadvantage. Always. I think they shopped him out there and they didn't get a lot of return back. Patriots, Bill Belichick does what he does best, right? He finds value. He finds good players who are struggling in their current situations, and he brings them in. And you know what? That's a big confidence boost for a guy like J.C. Jackson, who already knows that defense, had a ton of success there. And I think it was really big for the Chargers to say, we lost this gamble that we took on this player. Let's get him out. Let's get him to a place where he wants to eventually go. They could have traded him to Houston in the same type of deal. They could have traded him to the Cardinals in the same type of deal. I feel like they almost did right by him by like sending him back to the Patriots. And I think there's some bad blood there because he thought he could play. But the fact of the matter is, Asante Samuel hasn't given up any explosive plays, really. If you really think about it, if you look, like most of it's been Michael Davis and it's been J.C. Jackson giving up the big plays over the top. Asante has the one that I can remember in my mind. I think he's actually graded pretty highly in man coverage this season. I think I saw something from PFF. They did a graphic showing that he's got the top man defensive grade, right?
And I think that was a big reason why, the JC experiment didn't really work, because it was JC Jackson's at an outside corner, and you're not going to mess with that. Asante Samuel, because of the size and his skill set, we believed that he had the ability to move around. We started him in the nickel or the star position. He's just not as productive there. And I think his true value is on the outside. I think Michael Davis is a good corner when he a solid RB2, but Asante Samuel is turning into the cornerback one that we drafted him to be. And he
ended the game for us.
Yeah, no, well, and on a great read, a play that he's not necessarily supposed to float on. Just great awareness, situational awareness, understanding of the scheme, what we needed to be doing in that situation. And I don't care. Everyone's like, he made the right decision going down when he did. There was no. We didn't need any more yards.
That's my favorite thing about Asante. He's got great instincts.
Fun to watch,
he always finds himself in position to make outstanding plays. You think about the Devontae Adams interception last year in the first matchup, where he floated out of his, because he felt it, and he goes and he intercepts that ball, underthrown ball, probably a bad ball by Derek Carr, but like Asante Samuel has instincts and traits that really make him a dynamic game wrecker. Like he'll take over a game just like he did with Jacksonville. Right? Asante Samuel is really underrated. He's going to get an extra contract from this team because I think that the Chargers don't have a contingency plan for Michael Davis next year. He can play inside. He can play out. He gets his hands on a lot of balls that should be interceptions. Eventually, those are going to become interceptions. And I think that just when you look at the young player, 24 years old, and some of the stuff that like, He had some controversy this offseason with potentially not being a starter because he can't tackle. But his coverage skills are so damn good that he overcomes that. And he won that by a landslide. And right now, I think he's our best coverage corner right now. Michael Davis.
He's probably our best coverage player.
It's a rhythm thing, right? It's a rhythm thing. I just ultimately, I don't think J.C. Jackson fit the culture of that secondary at this point in time. I think he's got too many issues, not just off the field, but just in his own head, right? Like too many mental mistakes. And, I applaud the Chargers for making the decision early on and say, hey, this isn't working out early on. It doesn't look like it's getting better in the future. Let's go ahead and get JC Jackson out of here. And let's just focus on what we need to focus on, which is going to be our core group that we had from last season.
No, and I think I guess I don't know how to word it, but I guess the most promising thing out of that situation is it does look like the Chargers as an organization has learned from past regimes, like the Russell Okung experiments, just keeping them for way too long. That middle linebacker came in from Carolina. I thought we kept for a little long. Davis. Bringing Takeo Spikes at the end of his career for like 2-3 seasons when he was just a body. Just paying these guys, old guys who and this one's a little different because you're paying a guy in his prime potentially, but being able to, move away from that, be able to cut ties, be able to make, own up to, this isn't working out. Let's move another direction. I think that shows tremendous growth from the organization, and it makes me hopeful that we can continue to make positive roster decisions that will benefit this team now, but also in the future.
And like I said, the man thing, right? So Asante Samuel Jr. this season has the second highest PFF grade. We'll call it for what it is, right? It's PFF, right? He is graded second only to Joey Porter. He's given up 2 receptions for 21 yards while in man coverage. Granted, he's only been targeted 4 times, but teams are not looking his way in man because he's right man step for step in stride with those guys. Asante Samuel is our next kind of blue chip homegrown player who should receive a second contract. I think he's up next season, is his 4th year. So we got another year of Asante Samuel under our ability to keep him. And I think that he's really shown out, and it was enough to be able to say, we've got two guys here who could be lockdown corners with Michael Davis, how we've seen him play in the past. Let's go ahead and get rid of J.C. Jackson, and let's just focus on our core set of guys. So that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm stoked that we've got Asante Samuel to be able to make that decision, because this would probably be a different conversation if either Davis or Samuel were injured and out for an extended period of time, because at that point in time, I think you have to keep JC. That's not an issue we have right now. Jasir Taylor is going to take over that slot role. That's one of the guys that I'm kind of keyed in on, is how is he going to play? And I mean, he had a big hit the other day. Some pass breakups. He's a physical corner, and I like him playing more in the slot. I'm more comfortable with him playing in the slot than a Samuel moved into the slot and J.C. Jackson playing outside against a number one wide receiver.
And I will say, I really like, these second string DBs that we have coming up through the ranks. Dean Leonard. I thought the safeties that came in on short notice, thrown into a starting role, Marlowe and Raheem Lane, I thought they played well. I'm excited to see AJ Finley's development. Not really, no whole lot about that. The 27 that we signed from the Broncos to replace J.C. Jackson. But excited about the pipeline of young DBs. Yeah, the same. Either way, the future is bright for that DB room. Continuing to build around talents like Jaw Taylor and Asante Samuel Jr. It's fun because I don't think we've seen a young group like that drafted since like the Quentin Jammer, who was Cromartie duo. So it's exciting to see.
And these are undrafted and late round picks for the most part, right? Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor. You've got our safeties, Raheem Lane, AJ Finley. Those are undrafted guys. Like, we're in good hands. We're going to be all right for the short term. And I think that it's just better that we just know
JT Woods
in that situation. JT Woods needs to get healthy, but he looks good. He looks good from what we've seen last season.
This was a guy it's a good place to be because we got a lot of guys, and a guy who we drafted highly, we had high hopes for, isn't playing, but it's all right. He's going to be able to learn from really good room, a really fun system. So he'll get a shot. He needs to get healthy, but it's nice to have that. We don't have to rush him into a role before he's ready. It's a luxury that's nice to have, that is built off of the depth of this group.
All right, I want to get over to this Dallas game. Before we get to that, I kind of just want to one small more little segment, right? And I want to talk about the trade deadline that's coming up. I think it's the end of next week. We don't have a whole lot of cap space. I think we got like $4 or $5 million, so we really can't be making any big trades. But if there was a trade you'd like to see for a specific position on this team, and I'll give you a second to think about it, but what is the single position on this team that we're kind of struggling with that you could see us making a trade to go and kind of fill that need? I know like one on my mind right now, potentially we lost Corey Linsley to a heart condition that is urgent, I would say. It's something that he's kind of dealing with. They set him on IR, has a chance to come back this season. I see some depth issues on the interior of that offensive line as a potential area. I think tight end might be kind of an area. There's some places on this team I think that we could still get better at. If there was a single trade for a single position, kind of what are you kind of aiming at and looking at as like a potential hole or something that we just need to get better at?
Yeah, I think we're honestly really solid on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's more getting guys healthy, getting into a rhythm, and being able to execute consistency. So I like the group we have on D. I've loved our run game. I think a center upgrade, on top beyond to just a backup who we're kind of rolling with right now. That would be nice. The Trey McKitty experiment, talking about experiments that need to be moved on. I think he needs some pressure. I haven't seen him play a whole lot this year. The snaps that he has had, they have been poor. I like Donald Parham evolving as a red zone threat. Stone Smart has been an interesting kind of gadget tight end. Gerald Everett is solid, but I think a blocking tight end would really be able to take this Kellen Moore system to the next level. And I even have a trade crush that I would love to come in with being Mo Alley Cox. I think an underrated receiver, another solid red zone threat, another chess piece on the red zone that I think Kellen Moore would benefit from, but then a bruiser in the run game, could absolutely move bodies, a physical guy, a physical presence that I think that room is lacking. And I think that would really benefit this team because we haven't had a solid run blocking tight end since we let Steven Anderson walk.
I like that. I do think if I'm trading for something, I'm not trading for a star. I'm not trading for even a starter at any position. I'm trading for depth, right? And I think offensive line depth is so crucial to the success of a team, no matter what. We've already lost one guy for the next 4 weeks at minimal, potentially longer. I feel like heart things that the NFL coaches and teams, they should take their time with those types of things. If I remember, what was the offensive tackle you were talking about? He had
Okung. He had like a heart murmur or something.
Yeah, Russell Okung had and he was out for like 9, 10, 11 weeks, as he should. Those are things that you don't want to rush back. I'm always looking at the offensive line because I think it's so crucial to your team's overall success. If I'm trading for something, I'm just trying to get more depth there, and knowing that he's on IR, knowing that you probably need to bring somebody else in who can play center or guard, can kind of move around, give you that flexibility. So onto this Dallas team. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm not going to be at this game. I get my 5 a year. I get my 1 away game. This is one of those games I just decided not to go to. But Kellen Moore knows this team inside out. I can't think of a better person to know this team inside and out than my offensive coordinator, who's going to know how to attack this defense and has worked with the offense enough to know their limitations and their successes. He's probably got a great relationship with Dak Prescott. Dak is one of those guys who shows up when he needs to show up, but he does not look like the young Dak Prescott that he once did. Really, this team runs through CeeDee Lamb. I haven't even seen Tony Pollard really take the reins as that RB1, at least this season. They're a really good defense. They're a really good team overall. This is not going to be an easy game. This should be a punch out till somebody drops to the mat. That's what this is going to look like to me. And I really think that Dallas is a quality team. I know they were just blown out by the 49ers, who I think are probably the best team in football today, without a doubt. The 49ers are on all cylinders. They could blow any team out 42-10 or whatever that game was. But this is going to be a bounce back game for them. And I think kind of works against us also because no team knows Kellen Moore better and his tendencies than the Cowboys do. So, you can kind of give and take. It's a situation where it works for you, but it also works against you. So how do you think that this game is going to play out? What are some keys that you're looking for? And what's it going to take to beat the Cowboys in week 6?
You're breaking up a little bit there. I didn't really catch the question.
My bad. So, what is it going to take for the Chargers to beat the Cowboys? You hear me? My God. Yeah. All right. What's it going to take for the Chargers to beat the Cowboys?
Yeah. How do we beat the
You got like a 10-second lag on me. My bad.
No. How do the Chargers beat the Cowboys? Is that the question?
That is.
This is ridiculous. You tell me, because I'm. Let me fix my.
All right, I'll talk a little bit while I'm yelling at my dog, and then just chime in when you're ready. But I think that. Oh, my man, he just dropped off. Anyways, I'll go ahead and just start talking because it looks like Zach is having some issues. So far this season, Dak Prescott, He's 111 for 160 attempts. He's completing 70% of his passes. He's efficient. He's turning the ball over. He's got 4 interceptions so far this season. He's got 5 touchdowns. And I think that his main threat, his main guy that he's throwing the ball to is going to be CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is kind of their go-to target so far this season. He's got 35 targets on 27 receptions, and he's only got the 1 touchdown, but he is their most dynamic threat. From there, they've been throwing the ball to Jake Ferguson, Michael Gallup, each of them 27 targets, 22 targets, right around 170 total yards. It looks like Zach is now back. But I'm just talking a little bit about the weapons for the Cowboys, and I'm just saying that this team, it really runs through CeeDee Lamb, and then they're getting a little bit of production out of Jake Ferguson, Michael Gallup. Talk a little bit about this offense and kind of what makes them dangerous.
Yeah, I really like the young tight end group. 4th round pick from last year's draft and Jake Ferguson, and then Shoemaker. I think a 3rd round pick this last draft. Nice young up and coming tight end room. It seems like Dallas always has solid tight ends. I really think that is the strength of this offense. I like Tony Pollard. We haven't really seen him get going. I think Deuce Vaughn was a rookie that a lot of people had high expectations for, which we really haven't seen get going either. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is he's the leader of that group. I think what we're seeing is Dak Prescott without Kellen Moore is not a great player. And I think the biggest dip that they've seen, and it's jaw-dropping, is their deficiencies from last year to this year in the red zone. Last year with the Kellen Moore in the offense, in Dak's year, calling the plays, they were scoring touchdowns 70% of the red zone trips. Now they're scoring about 37%, which is the 28th worst in the league. On the flip side, Chargers struggled. They were consistently getting in the red zone, but weren't consistently walking away with 7 points. This season, even almost 69% of our red zone opportunities, 5th best in the league. So I think that's going to be key. That's going to be huge, is the ability, getting Austin Eckler, our best chess piece at the goal line, back in top 5 red zone team is going to be nice. And I think this is going to be one of those definitive scheme plans that we're going to see from Staley, based off of the insider knowledge that Kellen Moore is going to be able to provide.
I like that. Tony Pollard so far this season, he's got 340 yards on 81 total attempts. He's averaging 4.2 yards per carry. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but he's just not nearly as good as he was last season. I think that a lot of the things Kellen Moore did schematically for the Cowboys last season, with Zeke being your power back, with Tony Pollard being your jet sweep guy, your guy that you're getting out in space and throwing screens out to, it's just not the same type of offense for Tony Pollard, and he's not being utilized in the way that really was made him like such a dynamic guy for them last season. One of the other guys that I think is really interesting that is part of this team, and we were expecting high things from pretty much across the league, Brandon Cooks has been pretty much non-existent for this team. So far this season, he's only got 9 receptions, 73 yards. I just picked him up in fantasy because somebody dropped him, and I was like, going against a Cowboys or going against a Chargers team that's been giving up those explosive plays, like Brandon Cooks has got to get it together here eventually. He's only played in 4 games, but he's just not, and he's too good, too dynamic for this to continue for the rest of the season. I think they're going to get Brandon Cooks involved early, because I think that when you're looking for a guy that can be explosive, Brandon Cooks has historically shown the ability to go and do that. Kind of a small guy. He's hopped around from team to team. Nobody wants this guy. And I feel bad for Brandon Cooks, because I feel like he's always the first chess piece to get moved when it comes to trades for whatever reason. Teams like him, but teams don't want to hold on to him. And he has been really good throughout his whole career. He won a Super Bowl with the Saints. He won maybe it wasn't with the Saints, but he got traded from the Saints to the Patriots. He won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, and he's just been very, very consistent throughout his whole career. I don't think that's going to continue the rest of this season. It's just been a slow start for Brandon Cooks. He's one of the guys that I'm really eyeing and like kind of afraid of because he hasn't had that big game. He hasn't been utilized a whole lot. They know this. This is week 6. They got to get him involved here eventually. 9 receptions in 4 games is not good enough. That's one of the main guys that I'm looking at that's like, all right, he's not producing, but he's really good. He's only 29 years old. He's still in the tail end of his prime of his career. He's going to get it together. He's going to show out. I have a feeling like this is going to be a big game for Brandon Cooks.
Well, and I hope not. I think the pass defense needs to tighten up. Giving up 300 yards a game is not going to get it done. And I think that's a big key right there. Dak Prescott has only one 300-yard game in the last 17 starts. He's not a guy who really lights up that column. He's just efficient. He leans on a run game, which he doesn't really have that luxury this year. The Chargers are giving up 466 passing yards in a game, 367 passing yards to Ryan Tannehill. So it's possible. I just don't want Dak Prescott to be the next mediocre quarterback to, look great against this Chargers secondary. I'm hoping this new look, J.C. Jackson out of the picture, fresh off the bye, new look secondary is going to get the job done. But I think anything under 300 passing yards for Dak is a win. Over 300 passing yards, we have the same problem, and it's that explosive pass, giving up those explosive pass plays. And so to be able to do that, he's going to need more than just one receiving threat. CeeDee Lamb's not going to go for 300 yards. He's going to need some help to be able to do that. So I think Brandon Cooks is probably a solid guy to lean on. I don't think you're going to see that production from Michael Gallup, but don't sleep on him because that guy can make some plays too if he gets a chance.
I almost forgot to talk a little bit about the injury report, and then we'll talk about the defense. Both teams are kind of banged up right now. I think that the Chargers are getting more healthy coming out of a bye week, obviously. Austin Eckler was a full participant. Justin Herbert was a full participant with his left finger. Derwin James, Donald Parham, Trey Pipkins, Rashawn Slater, all of those guys, all full participants. Something to monitor. Nick Williams is dealing with a back issue. He did not practice. Dean Leonard dealing with some sort of hamstring injury. He did not practice, and Alohi Gilman still hasn't practiced with his heel injury. Joey Bosa has a toe injury 2 weeks from now, and since he last played the game, he also did not practice. For the Cowboys, they're a little more banged up. It looks like they got a lot more full participants. I'm just going to talk about some of the did not practice and limited guys. So Damone Clark, who is their linebacker, he's limited back-to-back days. Chuma Edoga is dealing with some sort of illness, probably going to be ready in time for the game. He did not practice today either. CJ Goodwin, Jonathan Hankins, both did not practice. And it looks like they've got a safety, Junya Thomas. I think it's supposed to be Junior, but Guanyeh, Junya. Whatever. And then Leighton Vander Esch is not expected to play. He's dealing with a concussion and a neck injury as well. Also, something that's really important that you got to take
he's
note
officially
of.
been ruled out.
Oh, nice. Trayvon Diggs is not playing because he's got a ACL injury. So that's a big hit to their defense, and their defense is still really good. DeMarcus Lawrence, Michael Parsons, even Deron Bland, who is kind of like an unknown. All guys grading very highly for their defense so far this season. Osa Adogwa, one of their interior defensive tackles, really good player. They get a lot of they still have Stephon Gilmore, and maybe not the player he was 3 years ago with the Patriots, but still a really good corner. This is a really good defense. They're missing some key pieces, Trayvon Diggs, and Leighton Vander Esch, but Dante Fowler was like a 4th overall pick like 5 or 6 seasons ago. This is a team that really defensively, they are much better. They communicate so well, and they make things tough against opposing offenses. I'm not going to take all the injuries away and say that we can kind of steamroll this team because I still think they have enough pieces. No. They're really led by Michael Parsons. He's phenomenal, leading the team with 4 sacks, 29 total pressures. What are your kind of expectations for this defense, and how do we beat them on our home field? Because this is a home game. How do we do that?
This is going to be fun because this is going to be fun. All those guys you mentioned, great disruptors, great guys at getting after the passer. Over the last 3 years, nobody has blitzed more than the Cowboys. During that time, Justin Herbert has shown that he isn't that is not the way to beat Justin Herbert. He is an absolute animal when you pressure him. The league's best, ranking 3rd in QBR, 6th in completion percentage, 2nd in passing yards, and 5th with 70 touchdowns in 3 years against the blitz. So it's one of those. I'm excited for the pressure because it kind of just speeds up what makes Herbert so great. When he has to quicken up and he has to make a play, that's when he's at his most dangerous. With no Trayvon Diggs, I think that's huge because you're missing one of your stickiest cover corners. There's going to be a lot of quick hitting, one break type of routes that are going to be huge in this game based off of just the style of plays on from the. Also, I think an interesting
you
stat.
Keep popping in and out, my guy. Go ahead, keep talking though.
Yeah, no. Did you want to say anything about their offense? I was kind of switched to defense.
No, so I'm just gonna kind of wrap this up a little bit. You're having some issues yourself, but I think that we kind of got what we wanted to say about this team. I'm really looking forward to this game because I think that this is going to be a true test. Like, the Cowboys have been a good team for multiple seasons. I don't think them downgrading from Kellen Moore to their head coach calling plays is a good thing necessarily for them. I think Dak Prescott has kind of regressed. Potentially Trey Lance could be their starting quarterback next season. I don't think that they're fully sold on Dak Prescott. I know they have some cap issues where it probably makes it a little harder for them to move on. But, you know, the Cowboys are just not the same team they were last season. I think a major issue that they're dealing with is Kellen Moore, who just happens to be on our team now, which is a great thing for this Chargers team. I think that if we need to start building some momentum, we got to start beating some good teams. I think after this week, we start to kind of go on an easy part of our schedule. And I think that coming out of this game 3-2 really will boost the confidence heading into kind of the lower down half of our schedule. Winning this game could be a huge confidence boost and could really get us on a roll. If we get on that roll during this week and we beat the Cowboys, this is a home game for us. Cowboys travel very well, so I don't expect it to look like a home game. Probably better than it did with the Raiders. I think that we need to win this game because this is going to get us that momentum moving forward because we've got Bears. The Lions is going to be a tough game. The Broncos are coming up. Like, we've got some other tough matchups, but winning this game gets us ready for those tough matchups as well. So this next 4 weeks could really that momentum could start here, and we could beat some good teams along the way while also getting some easy wins against the Bears, some of those other teams we're playing. So those are my final thoughts on this game. I want to see some of our young players come through. Like, Michael Davis is going to be getting an opportunity to really be unacknowledged, the DB1 for that defense going now that JC Jackson is gone. Asante Samuel's been playing really well. We need to get Quentin Johnson involved. There's a lot of things to take away from this game. And I'm really interested to see how, with a whole week of preparation, getting healthier, what we're going to look like coming out of this bye week.
No, this is big, and I'm really excited. I think Austin Eckler's return comes at a terrific time based off of the opponent. Cowboys' run D has not been a strength of them this year. 29.1% run stop percentage. The Chargers are 6th best in the league in run block win rate at 72.5%. That line has been opening up some holes. The second backs, Josh Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, haven't been producing the last couple of weeks, but guarantee Austin Eckler is going to hit those He's going to be healthy. He's excited. He's playing himself this week in fantasy. So it's going to be I'm excited to get the air guitar back. Talking about a momentum building game, we're getting one of our biggest energy guys back. This is an exciting game, so I'm ready for Monday night. Bummed, though, that I have to go 2 Sundays in a row without Charger football.
But, Monday Night Football brings out some of the best plays. Like, I feel like Monday Night Football, for whatever reason, people show up on Monday Night Football. Thursday Night Football, totally different situation. Those games are boring.
It's not prime time.
Historically speaking, since Amazon took over that, those games have not been fun. Yeah. But Monday Night Football, you always get some breakout players. So I'm really looking forward to the primetime game. I wish I was going to this one. I'll be at the Ravens one instead. But thank you guys so much for listening. If you haven't had a chance and you live in San Diego, come visit the Balanced Yogi. My wife and I just opened our yoga studio. We're super excited. That's part of the reason why our podcasts have been so inconsistent is because I'm opening up a business. Come visit the Balanced Yogi in Santee. Get your yoga on. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys later.